Hey, Crawl Spacers, welcome to our ASM review show. Let's introduce the panel. Let's see who we've got. We've got Christina in the house. What's going on, Christina?
Oh, not much.
How are you? What, you rocking a Ben Riley hat?
I am, yes.
See, there you go. And you can tell it's getting summer where the sun's still out on you.
Yes, yes, it is.
All right. We've also got Mike. What's going on, Mike?
Hello, everyone. I'm sure you can hear me just fine. And of course, how's everything going with all the bright, shiny weather? Since it's also sunny here too, so great.
Well, I just spent 2 hours mowing today, so I am.
You look it. By the way, I'm just gonna say.
Why? Thanks.
Yeah,
it looks like you didn't mow today. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, probably not. No. Yeah.
All right. Let's see who else can insult the host. All right, we got Josh. Go. No, I'm just kidding. What's up, man?
I'm tired. I've been working a ton lately.
You couldn't even get that sentence out. You're so exhausted. My goodness.
No, man, gosh, we counted. I think as of right now we have 105 gigs for the rest of the year, 50 of which are in June. So
wow.
I work with computers so much I thought you were talking hard drive space. 105 gigs. And I'm like, oh, like paying gigs. I get it. Gigs. All right. Someone that has gigs of information in his head couldn't make it, and then we have JR. What's up, man? How are you, JR?
Well, I am optimistic. It is spring.
Yeah.
Days are lasting longer. There's a brand new, amazing Spider-Man #1. And I am looking forward to recapping the stories in my totally factual, non-exaggerated, non-hyperbolic way. Nothing but just straight retelling of the stories. And I can't wait.
Oh, Jared seems to be in a good mood. It's like he took his meds.
Uh-oh.
We never get far. They're right here.
JR, I'm curious. You're holding the ASM 1, but it doesn't have any art on the back. What cover did you get? Oh, okay. There you go.
I got one of the variant covers.
That's good.
Yeah, to be honest, I'm kind of pleased. I mean, I like having a choice of covers, really. I mean, I unfortunately, it's Marvel's way of trying to, get more cash out of people. But, I still only buy one, and I kind of like having a choice because some of them are actually pretty good.
Is that one silver? Are the webs silver? Am I seeing something?
Yeah, they're a little bit. It's hard, but they're a little bit.
That's cool.
And it's it's a thick stock cover.
Hard stock, yeah. Who's the art? Is that Bagley?
I don't see anybody identified on the cover.
Oh, I think on our front page, Muhammad has the name of who did the art on that one, on the variants. So we can check that out in just a minute. What's going on, chat? We got Ryan Reed in the house. Hello, Trayvon. We got Zach. We have Jeff. Ryan's loving your hat, Sarah. 4 hours of mowing yard work here. I feel you. Same here, buddy. Mr. Comics, ready to see what everyone's opinion are on the new issues and see if my predictions have been correct. JR has Riz. That's never been on the internet.
Whoa. Now, wait a minute. I had shots for that, okay?
Yeah. Okay.
The doctors pronounced me cured, so, don't go around spreading misinformation. Or I'll have my dear friend, Secretary Kennedy, come on,
Oh, my gosh.
Uh-oh.
JR has so many drugs. Those are bad for you. You should stop when you start seeing the green fairy.
Oh, trust me. At my age, multiple drugs are a fact of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I got that same cover, JR, plus the Stegman and the main cover. Wow, you're dropping some money, Garen the Frozen. Charisma is the word. The R is for JR in Riz. Good.
I was about to say, you guys, I'm going to have to start suing you for definition of character or something. So.
No. Yeah. Yeah, only JR sues his fans, not his.
So long as we don't call you J-Riz, I'll be fine.
Oh my God, J-Riz! J-Riz in the house. I'm B-Rad. This is J-Riz. C. Tina. and M. Nolte, and J. Osh. J. Osh.
I don't know. That almost sounds like a DJ for a porn channel. J. Riz.
What? First of all, who's broadcasting a radio station of? Nah, never mind.
Well, I mean, it's like if you instead of calling
For
a
the
1-800,
deaf, I don't know.
instead of calling a 1-800 number to have someone talk dirty to you, just turn on the radio station and have someone talk to you dirty 24 hours a day.
All right, Brad, the radio station for the deaf, how are they listening to it?
Yeah.
Oh, I meant the blind. Well, maybe if JR was on it, they're better off. I don't know.
Hey, you know, you don't have to see anything. You just have to be able to hear and just kind of have one good hand.
Oh my gosh.
I just want to put on the record we're 6 minutes out. 6 minutes in. Actually, we're probably 6 minutes out. Yeah. All right, JR, I made the uneducated opinion to start this show with you. Here, you've got the first issue, my friend.
Well, I don't know if it's uneducated as much as it's ill-formed.
Yeah, but, it's volume 7. Is that where we are?
I've lost count.
I think it's volume 7. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Correct me in the chat if we are.
It is.
Okay.
But we'll go with legacy number 965 now.
965, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Good looking cover. What do you think, JR?
No, I like the cover I got better. This one, as we'll get into the story later on, I'm not really jazzed about this art. So, you know.
Oh, we'll disagree on that. All right, let's go.
I'm not surprised. You know, the guy who buys his comics based on the covers. So
now I will agree with you. This is not the best look for Peter Parker.
Yeah, and don't say anything because I've got some things lined up already.
All right, go for it, sir. Go for it.
All right. Well, boys and girls, one of the great things I like about the rebooting Spider-Man is I know we're going to get completely fresh new stories and fresh new takes, and we're not going to be revisiting old tropes. So as we open up the story, we find out that Peter is unemployed and looking for a job. Have we had this before? Let me see. Wasn't there the time that J. Jonah Jameson, when Jonah was mayor, fired him and Marvel decided to do a whole bunch of publicity based on Peter looking for a job, and even had Mike Governor, I think he was a governor at the time, or was he mayor of New York City, Mike Bloomberg guest star in a comic? You know, well, okay, maybe it's just that one time. Maybe it didn't have. No, wait a minute. Right after Civil War and the beginning of Brand New Day, wasn't Peter unemployed and looking for a job then?
That was 20 years ago, yeah.
Well, no, but that's okay. That's 2 times. I think that can kind of be forgiving. But, wait a minute. Wasn't there the reboot in 1999 where Peter was unemployed and looking for a job? And he went to... He went to Tricorp or whatever and met the whole DEI squad there and got the job, you know. So, no, but that's the past. I'm willing to forgive. Okay. All right. Okay. So we look and we see that obviously we look at this art and we see that Peter has clearly been sniffing cocaine. If you'll go to the first picture and zoom in.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you could tell it here because
I know. Oh, yeah, his nose is red.
Yeah, it's yeah. You know, he definitely. What was Deadpool calling all that? In the Deadpool and Wolverine, he had about 3 or 4 different metaphors for snorting. But anyway, so Peter's been obviously snorting cocaine.
Jeez.
And then let's go down to the next level where you were originally, Brad.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So and then it's like, well, wait a minute. Now either Peter is a Vulcan, or
I know, I was thinking that, yeah.
Or he is the Impossible Man's white trash brother. So,
the Impossible Man's white trash bro. Yeah, I got to give you, these Peter Parkers are not the best. Yeah.
And then go down one more, Brad.
Okay. Oh
Now-
no!
It's like,
Looks like a Lego
first
guy.
of all, I mean, it looks like the Coke is really starting to kick in. You know, I mean, it's almost like the artist said, "Oh, wait a minute, I got to take a shit." You know, here, you finish up this drawing. You know,
Two dots.
I mean, he has no whites in his eyes. He has no lips. And he's got Josh. What's his name? Josh Ben Shapiro's eyebrows. So,
Oh no!
Anyway,
Yeah, Lord.
Like I've always said, I am not really qualified to judge art, but I'm not digging right from page one. So, but anyway, so you know, as Peter's interviewing for these various jobs, which he's not getting, and very much like Brand New Day or whatever, we get, you know, references to him not showing up to his previous jobs on time. We have a flashback picture of him fighting a supervillain or two, you know, and so again, we've seen this before. But then Spider-Boy decides to text him and say, "Hey, there's a new bad guy out there." So Peter decides to run off and disappear. And here's the thing: we don't even see where he goes. It's like then later.
It's okay. It's Spider-Boy. We don't care.
Well, I know we don't care, but it's kind of like,
care.
wait a minute, you set this up and you don't pay it off. You know, I mean, not that I want to see Spider-Boy either, but it could have been handled in a couple of frames, you know. But anyway, because Peter just ran out on a job interview, it'd be nice to see what he ran out on the job interview for. But anyway, so now we've got now he's visiting his somewhat hipper geriatric Aunt May, who obviously is he's obviously doing better ever since her grift at the feast I guess started picking up steam. So
Grift.
and of course Peter, and Peter just and here's another thing. Peter just effortlessly picks her up. Okay. Which I'm sorry, Aunt May is probably about 98 pounds soaking wet. All right. But Peter does not look like someone who can effortlessly pick up anybody other than maybe a toddler. So if Aunt May, again, I guess Aunt May is going to continue her case of the stupids and never figure out that Peter is Spider-Man. Get no. But anyway, so Peter says, "Hey, I got a job now. I got a job." Which actually I remember getting a call. Well, it wasn't me getting the job; it was actually my daughter getting the job. But anyway, I was really happy as I kicked one out of the house now. But anyway, so Peter's happy because he's got a job, and he said, "Wow, somebody put in a good word for me. I wonder who." "Oh yeah, hey Aunt May, you remember that guy from middle school who, even though in 60 years of my life being chronicled in various titles and spinoffs, we've never heard of?" And she says, "Yes." So yes, I remember.
Look at her, man. Look at her.
She's been to Willem Dafoe's dentist, apparently. But here's another thing. I mean, look at and again, I mean, my dental work is nothing to brag about since I'm so old. I wasn't in the era where everybody got braces automatically. But I mean, Aunt May doesn't even look like she did. It's like and again, nobody wants to hear, "Oh, it was better in my day." But I honestly believe that Ross Andrew, for example, drew people consistently from panel to panel. Maybe some smartass out there like Hornacek or will prove me wrong and show where Ross Andrew dropped the ball. But anyway, so we go
real quick. Mr. Comic says Aunt May's face looks like Peter set her up with a date with JR.
Wow.
Mr. Comics was he on the list, or if not, he is now.
Now wait a minute. Aunt May is still a little too old for me, folks.
Oh man,
I'm just I'm still young compared to her, and would probably I don't. I think I better stay away from that. Okay. maybe she could listen to my porn channel. But anyway. That's probably about all that somebody Aunt May's age can take right now. Is just
okay. Moving on. Moving on.
Oh, okay.
Moving
Well,
on.
anyway, so we meet this guy, and we learn that in middle school, Peter Parker, boy, he was a prankster with this guy and a troublemaker and setting off stink bombs and getting in fights. This was kind of a, in fact, if Peter, it's no wonder that Peter was able to make friends with a diverse group of people in high school, because he just was so interesting and fun and different. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. That's not the Peter Parker that I remember,
Well, and in defense, JR, there are not much Peter Parker middle school stories. I don't remember the 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old. Well, what did he get bit? 15?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he got bit at
Yeah.
15. But if you think
Yeah.
that somehow Peter Parker went from, a troublemaker at 12, 11, and 12, he was sixth grade. So I was 11 in sixth grade. And so, I have a hard time to believe that he wasn't the same serious little nerd at 11 that he was at 15. But anyway, that's okay. Here we are. That's what we got. So anyway, so his old friend, new friend, we've never heard of before, kind of like, I'm trying to think of, like, remember an Amazing Spider-Man annual number 17 when we met CJ Vogel at Peter's high school reunion, and we found out that CJ had been there the whole time. He always got Peter out of scrapes by distracting the bullies by making jokes. Yeah, we haven't seen CJ since that annual. And then there was wasn't there Charlie Wienerman, who was the
Charlie Wienerman.
the fake Moden man from JMS's run. Remember, he was we haven't seen him either. So it makes me wonder, is this guy going to wind up being in a significant player, or is his story arc going to wind up puttering out?
Thankfully we haven't. Well, thankfully we haven't seen Skip. So there's that.
Oh,
yeah. Deep cut there, Mike. Hey, also, what about that one guy, Clash, that Slot did?
Oh, yeah.
There we are.
Don't forget Clash.
Can't
Who was
forget him.
Clash? What was his name? I forget.
Oh, I totally forgot
Clayton
his name.
something, I think.
Oh,
Clayton.
That's right. Yeah.
Clayton.
How
And,
quickly
and
did
then
it go?
Cindy Moon was there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Remember
Cindy
Silk?
was there to get bit by the same spider that bit Peter. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, guess what? There's a distraction, and Peter has to leave. And it turns out that it's the Rhino just tearing up things. But
Come on, JR. What about that art? That looks good.
Anyway, Peter sees the Rhino, and he's
Jeez.
and he's tearing up things. But Spider-Man, notices that the Rhino usually, because of the Rhino's rather limited intellectual capacity, Peter's able to really irritate him with his relentless talking and jokes. But something's wrong. I mean, because the Rhino is, in addition to the fact that the Rhino's kind of been, on an even keel lately ever since his love got killed off, which we all saw coming when that happened, but Rhino's completely silent. And it's like, this doesn't quite seem right. And then all of a sudden, the Rhino goes into cardiac arrest. Now, Here's the thing. And his heart stops. Later, both Peter and our former hero, Norman Osborn, referred to the Rhino having a heart attack. Well, the thing is, a heart attack, your heart typically does not stop beating. That's a blood flow issue. But in a cardiac arrest, your heart stops because that's an electrical problem with your heart. Now, sometimes a heart attack can precipitate a cardiac arrest, but I was just a little bit, maybe that's a technicality, but it was kind of like, this doesn't, no, it's not a heart attack. But anyway, but his heart does stop, so we'll call it a cardiac arrest. And actually, in a scene that I actually kind of liked, because the Rhino is not, he's not a Norman level bad guy or whatever, where you're telling Peter, just let the guy die. Peter, as he puts it, it's trying to knead concrete, but he bashes the Rhino's heart back into working again. Now we meet our villains. Now we meet our villains. And it turns out we are back at Kingsley International because, as you know, boys and girls, that after Norman Osborn, corporate raider that he was, bought out Kingsley International from him in the just before the reboot, Kingsley was able to weasel it back out of him during the beginnings of Zeb Wells's run. So Kingsley's got his empire back. And also,
you're gonna be excited about that, aren't you?
Well, hang on.
Okay,
because you're going to be asking for pros and cons later, and I want to have something to talk about.
All right, got you.
I mean, you don't want me to shoot my entire wad here, do you?
Okay, good God.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking about my radio gig. Anyway, Kingsley's collected some weird statues lately, and the dialogue is pretty evident that Kingsley's the guy behind the Rhino's sudden change in behavior, and as usual, when we start off with number 1 with a new Spider-Man, we always have a mystery villain. However, apparently, whoever does number 2, apparently we do find out who the mystery villain is in number 2. So they're not, so fortunately, this is a mystery that we don't get messed around with and fails to pay off. It's resolved pretty quickly. So anyway, Kingsley, we know Kingsley is starting up a devious plan here to kick off the new Spider-Man series. Well, now the scene transitions to something that we just never get tired of, which is Peter Parker double dating at some place where there's this trashy broad getting drunk, hollering loud, and he's with another girl we don't give a shit about. He's with his main squeeze, as she's actually referred to in a letter column. Shay doesn't even qualify as main squeeze at this point. Okay. Now, I mean, she's not even a girlfriend. She's keeping a very discreet distance from Peter, which she should. But to be honest, she shouldn't be dating Peter at all because he's been such an asshole to her. But anyway, we covered that ground earlier. Yeah. But so anyway, this this girl, because we weren't getting it. We don't want Peter to have a steady relationship, with a mature, intelligent woman. We want to see him out he's not drinking though. Apparently he's only drinking water or ginger ale or whatever, but we want him hanging out with cool young people getting drunk. So anyway, it turns out he's on a double date with Randy Robertson, and Randy has seen better days, right? Let's go for our first really close-up shot of Randy Robertson here. Okay. Randy is not looking as masculine as he used to. In fact, I'm honestly surprised he's with a girl this time around.
Oh, JR.
But no. I mean, come on. He's being drawn very differently than he was before. I mean, particularly when you look at the Mark Buckingham art during when Peter Jenkins was writing, and it's even, I'm sorry, this is not how Randy has always looked. Okay. So I don't know if whatever. I'll try to avoid going any further there, but I don't like this. I mean, come on.
Well, your Peter model is off. Your Aunt May model is off. Your Randy model's off. So it's keeping with your criticism throughout.
Yeah, they're just not. They do not look consistently with how they've been portrayed in the past. So anyway, his conversation with Randy, because Randy says, Randy mentions to his drunk trashy date that that he's a social worker, and which actually I think presents some good opportunities. If Randy's a social worker, he can always kind of tip off Peter to things that are happening, but that probably won't amount to anything either. But anyway, he says that, East Harlem, everybody's kind of acting weird in East Harlem. And Peter should say, oh, you mean more so than usual? But anyway, that's beside the point. Or is this the gentrified part of East Harlem? I don't know. Harlem's getting gentrified, He
goes to the Rhino's apartment.
Wait a minute. No. Wait a minute. New York City is not. The thing is, the New York City we're being presented with in the comic books is not the New York City that exists. I mean, particularly Hell's Kitchen. But anyway, Hell's Kitchen has no more bad guys because it's populated by luxury foreign automobile dealerships on every other street corner. But that's beside the point. Anyway, so Peter reminds him that, the Rhino is acting suspicious. So he goes to the Rhino's apartment and starts looking around for clues, being the great detective that he is. And then all of a sudden his spider sense goes into overdrive,
Real quick, JR.
Yeah.
Do you notice, does this apartment look familiar?
Well, I don't know. Kane used to watch a whole lot of things in apartments, but
no, come on. This is drawn from a famous 90s apartment. I'm 100% sure. It's Seinfeld's apartment.
Yes.
That's jumped out of me right when I read it. I'm like, that's Seinfeld's apartment.
Yes,
Kramer's going to come right through there.
Yeah, apparently Jerry Seinfeld's apartment was in Harlem too. So
yeah,
who knew?
Oh my. So who knew the Rhino moved in when Jerry moved out?
That's right.
Wow.
Anyway, I tell you, that shows how unhip I am because I never watched Seinfeld. I only watched the end of the last episode. And it's like, this is how it's going to end. This is how it's going to end. This is stupid. But anyway, so now Spider-Man's spider sense is going completely haywire. It's even worse than Nicholas Hammond's glowing red eyes spider sense. And he's hallucinating, and we're left with a cliffhanger to be continued.
Oh, here I'll show you the big, nice 2-page spread here.
Mm-hmm.
Really pretty. That's
yeah, I don't think so.
And you don't like that shot, JR?
You
don't like it. Oh man.
I don't like it.
Okay, what's your grade on it, sir? Hold on. You got a lot more story to tell too, but what's the main story grade, I guess?
I am going to give it a C+, but unlike, and as we'll get into pros and cons later, it's a little more of an optimistic C+ than a lot of the other C's I've been given. It's still mediocre. Yeah. But for various reasons, I'm willing to give this one a little bit of time to simmer. Yeah. So C+. Okay.
I guess we'll go around the horn for the main story. Christina, what's your grade on it?
I'm a smidge above GR. I gave it a B-.
Yeah. B-. Josh?
C+.
Mike?
I'm giving it a C+ also.
I'm giving it a B. How am I the highest grade? My goodness. Real quick, JR, let's talk about the Norman bits, and we got a new villain in the back.
Well, I'd have been more excited if this was about Paul because
hang around for satellites.
Well, as I made the point some time ago, Norman is our former hero, Paul is our current hero. But anyway, and it's always good to see John Romita Jr. back. And since he's only doing a handful of pages this time, there's nothing really odd like electric plugs for noses or lopsided thugs. So it's always nice to kind of see some nice clean art from JR Jr. So anyway, Norman is holding a press conference at Oscorp, and he decides to go to one of his strengths, which is telling self-deprecating jokes. And it bombs. Yeah. So, but we don't get to dwell on that for too long, because speaking of bombs, this crazy guy stands up and instantly turns into a cyborg, which makes me wonder how he got through security with all that metal. But anyway, maybe it's not really metal, maybe it's some kind of synthetic. But anyway, he blames Norman for killing his wife, and to be honest, and he said, "Yeah, Sic Semper Monstrum does be it to monsters."
I want to hear you read this line over here. Give us a laugh, Norm. I just,
Yeah, let's see. It's not. I can't do it in a goblin voice, though. But he looks like a druggie and a redneck. So it's kind of like, let's give us some laughs, Norman.
No, Norm. He abbreviated.
Laugh one more time.
I just like that no one calls him Norm ever. Everybody, it's Norman. I thought that was cool.
Well, I mean, again, this guy, looks like he, I was about to say, this guy looks like he's been sharing some. In fact, maybe he was Peter's supplier at the beginning of the story. But anyway, Norman handles this quick, like he should, quick and effortlessly, and we see just a wee bit.
Yes, we do.
That good old goblin temperament.
But
he
let me hear you. What about these lines, JR?
Yeah. Oh. You dare attack me in my house? My house!
Yeah, that's what I hear in my head when I read this. You.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see doing the voice like I did for back for Jonathan's
The Whip Studios.
Thank you, Thwip
Yeah.
Studios, where
Yeah.
I would read the first couple of things. The first one would be
Yeah.
pure Norman. The second would be sort of a mix. And then the last one would be just full out
Rage.
Goblin, my house.
Yep.
But Norman stops himself. He takes a chill pill. He's been watching Dr. Phil. He's in a different place. He's not watching Richard Simmons anymore, though, because poor Richard went on to that, that great exercise gym in the sky. But anyway, so Norman is remembering a conversation that he had with Spider-Man. And Norman was going to tell everybody that he was going to quit. He was going to leave Oscorp and he was going to step away. Maybe find himself a little shack in Montana, where he wouldn't have indoor plumbing. He'd have a manual typewriter, and he'd kind of, make some bombs here and there. But, I hope people remember that, know that reference. But anyway, so Norman, he wants to go away. He would spend the rest of his life, just living under the radar, which actually I would think of doing too if I were him. But Spider-Man basically says, Norman, you got a lot to answer for, and if you think running away, I mean, you're thinking clear for the first time in a long, long time. And so you think that just walking away is the best you can do. You think quitting and just walking away, with all of your, I mean, it's not said, but it's pretty well implied, with your intelligence and everything you have, you're just going to quit you're just going to quit. And Norman says, folks, I was going to come in here and say that I was quitting, but I've realized that I have a lot of debts to pay. And the sole mission of Oscorp from now on will be for me to redeem myself of my sins. However, if you've noticed, and I don't know if this is just an artistic choice, but if you notice the little stream of smoke sticking in his back, maybe it was an artistic choice there, but then you turned back a couple of pages, or not a couple, but back to the prior page, and there's the little smoke, there it is in that one panel there, kind of, and it's not, it's in his back. So is that the sins of the Green Goblin kind of working their way back in? We don't know. But anyway, that story ends as well. And then we get to Sycophant City. Oh, in other words, the letters page.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's your grade on that Norman story, though? That's an A?
I give it a B+.
Yeah, I thought you'd like it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Short, sweet, to the point.
You got your letters pages here. Yep. I didn't see anything from a crawl spacer in there, but no, mainly because it was the creative team writing in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why I felt comfortable calling it Sycophant City. If if Chi-Town had or your collecting buddy Bruce had written a letter, I probably wouldn't have said anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right, we got one last after the credits rolls that scene.
Oh, I didn't give a shit about this one, but anyway, a bunch of archaeologists, who apparently have just watched Close Encounters of the Third Kind and want to go look at weird formations. They said, "Hey, this one's giving off a whole lot of cosmic radiation. There's this big boom, and this guy looking like, he came out of the Vertigo had a series once, which had I think a knight from like the 11th century in modern times, and I forget what it was called." But this guy, Hellgate, looks exactly like that character. And he's, thanks to comics, new comics this week at Geeks or whatever, we know that he's going to be, after the Hobgoblin storyline, that he's going to be the villain. And Spider-Man, he's going to administer the worst beating Spider-Man ever got in his life.
Which didn't Tombstone just give it to him that 6 months ago?
Yeah, and then Moreland gave it to him before, and
but
this guy's going to administer the worst beating of his life. So,
Yeah, that's
He's going to hit him harder than the Thing clocked him in Marvel Team Up 100 when he instantly lost consciousness, Yeah. But yeah, this guy brings it more than the Thing, I'll bet.
Yeah. Okay, so we have gone around for grades. JR, let me hear your pros, and we'll go around the horn for. Actually, real quick before you do that, we got grades in chat. B-, Mr. Comics for the Desert story. Mr. Comics give the Norman story a B. Zach gives it a B+. Lex Luthor made more sense than this crap. Why is Spider-Boy part of Peter Parker's contacts? That's dumb. Let's see.
Because he's got to sell toys.
Mm-hmm.
Gary in the Frozen always hears JR in his brain when he reads Norman. You're to blame for that.
Oh, that is so nice of you. Thank you.
Matt Bird gives the story a C-. Trayvon gives it an A-. Tevia gives it a D-, mostly because I'm tired of Peter Parker being a loser. And I'm sick and tired of Shay. She's a terrible interest, and that doesn't need to exist. And for God's sake, Marvel, give us Peter Parker and Mary Jan.
Tevia, you need to go back to watching Fiddler on the Roof, okay? Got to get your spirits back up. So
C+ out of Jeff Cole, Mr. Comics, an A-. And we have Ryan with a C+, Jeff with a C+, Gary in the Frozen for a C, and Mr. Comics gives it an A. That is the grades for the chat. So, all right, now we're ready for JR's pros. Let's hear it, buddy.
All right. Well, the first time I read it, I thought, oh, this is crap, not again. But then when I, decided to read it again for this podcast, I looked at it a little bit more discerningly. And yeah, I'm still turned off by the art, but there were some things I kind of liked. I kind of liked, for example, that unlike some stories, which, has Spider-Man telling some really stupid out of place jokes. I kind of like this time his quick witticisms, like, when he's holding up, and the people are taking a selfie and he's going, please run away. And when he tells the guy whose truck he just trashed, sorry for your loss. I kind of like the quick wit zingers, instead of some of the over the top jokes, like that when the big U fell and he made a joke about you will not stop me. And we had a member of the crawl space who just thought that was absolutely hilarious. I can't remember who it was, but but no,
I'm the problem. It's me.
I like that. I guess I felt a little bit better about it after because actually part two, I guess some of the things I was going to gripe about here kind of resolved themselves in part two. I was glad to see Kingsley back. I was glad to see. I just hope we don't have any. I was glad to see him back. Glad to see him with his business empire. Glad to see him talking in the. I always like Kingsley as the Hobgoblin because Norman. I like the Norman is kind of crazy. I like that part about him. I like the fact that Kingsley was rational, was calm and a rational goblin. And he was, he in a way that makes him both inferior and superior to Norman at the same time. Mm-hmm. So, and I think Norman's kind of been played out. I love the Green Goblin, but I'd like to see the Hobgoblin be a little bit more prominent. Hopefully he's still not under the control of what's her name, Queen Goblin, and hopefully we're done with the Goblin doppelgangers, and hopefully, we're done with that, and we can go back to kind of how he was when Roger Stern first created him.
Jerry, you're talking about quips. Mary wants to know what author gave Peter the best quips in your opinion?
Oh, Lord. It varied so much. I mean, it's like some,
Roger Stern?
I got to go back to some of Stan's stuff. I mean, because with Stan, I don't know. Maybe it was because it was new for a superhero back then, and part of it was there was a certain cynicism as well. Yeah. But a good writer is a good writer. Peter David had a handle on Spider-Man's voice.
Oh, Peter David's quips, yes.
I mean, and the early writers all had a handle on Spider-Man's voice. Jerry Conway, Lynn Wein.
Yep.
Marv Wolfman. Good writers have a grip on Spider-Man's voice where he's funny, but he's not it's not like, a failed audition for the Carson show, and Johnny doesn't invite you to sit next to him after it's done. But I know that went over some heads. All right.
Johnny Carson was on a late night show called The Tonight Show from 1962. No,
through 1992. All right. And boys and girls, I'm sorry if you
started when Spider-Man. Yeah.
If you've only known Steve Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, and Seth Meyers, you don't know late night host. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and that's why the ratings are tanked on all those shows. Yeah.
Even Letterman, before he kind of started going off the rails, was But anyway, that's beside the point. So I like that. I liked seeing Kingsley in charge and scheming again.
Yeah,
and is so far in control of the situation. Let's see. I thought there was something else, but
my pro is art for the most part, but you don't have art for your pro, huh?
No, and I did like the Norman backup story.
Well, that was John Romita Jr. Yeah,
I'm kind of, and we'll get to it in number 2. I'm actually kind of warming a little bit to the Norman new relationship with Peter. For a long time, it wasn't earned, and it felt off. It's starting to get a little better, but as we'll discuss later, I'm optimistic, but I'm not. But we've been let down so many times before.
Let's hear other pros. Josh, what do you got?
I always change my opinion whenever JR does a retelling because it's entertaining listening to him tell it, but it also points out some flaws that I didn't see in the first place. There's always this battle of I kind of like hard to find a job Peter Parker because very relatable, especially for me right now. But he's an adult, not a just turned adult. He's what did he say? It was supposedly just over 15 years from 6th grade. So he's 20, supposed to be 27, 28 or something.
Something like that. Yeah. Mid-20s. Yeah. Mid-20s thereabouts.
Yeah. It's 27, but he's really 70 years old with all the comics that we've had for the last 6 decades. He really should just have a job, kind of be moving on with adulthood at this point. So I like that I can kind of relate to those parts of the story. I really shouldn't be relating to those parts of the story though for him.
Mainly because they've been told many times, but
like JR pointed out, it's we've seen this over and over and over again. But it was definitely how do I say, not as melancholy read than what we have gotten in the last little bit. So
it so doesn't seem like the same writer from the 8 Deaths of Spider-Man is writing this thing, does it?
Yeah.
I mean, this is more grounded. This is more.
Yep.
It just is night and day from what we've been reading for the last 10 issues or whatever.
The comic previous to this, which I guess was volume 6, but the last one where there's that backup story at the very end where he's all the people of New York most people donate the money back that got from the bank or whatever like that.
Yeah.
And he's laughing at himself I need a job, I need money. That kind of version of Peter Parker I kind of like though. Man, I'm still struggling for money, but or trying to find a job, whatever. But yeah, he is an adult.
Mike, what do you got for pros?
Okay, well, I mean, I know JR will disagree with me on this, but I think the art on this is actually what the main driving force behind this whole comic right now, because that's the big selling point of this. It's not so much Joe Kelly's writing, although it's okay to basically quote the HBO's miniseries Chernobyl. It's not great, but it's not terrible. But the art in there is certain. Now, granted, yes, that thing with some of the stuff he showed with Peter at the job interview was really off, and some of that stuff with the whole. But we'll get into that.
But the Spider-Man stuff, woo!
Yeah, the Spider-Man stuff.
The Spider-Man stuff.
The Spider-Man stuff with the fight with the Rhino is fantastic.
Absolutely.
That
look at that truck. The truck
splash.
one.
Yes,
the truck.
There's a lot of shows a lot of movement. There's a lot of weight behind what the action. You can kind of feel can feel that there's actually some force behind what he's doing. There's that double page spread at the end with all those, where granted said that hallucinogenic venom, that's definitely going to be a future poster in the future for some folks.
Awesome.
There's also that nice touch where you have Roderick Kinsley looking into this display case with the hobgoblin, and you see his facial reflection in where the mask should be. I thought, nice.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a nice. Shot. That's a very nice touch here. So Pepe Larraz is actually the best. He is definitely the guy that they're trying to put. That is the guy going to be. It's smart for him putting him on as the kind of the premier artist for like at least this first arc. And in a weird way, and I know you're probably going to disagree with this, Brad, but having J.R. Jr.'s artwork in the backups and you compare it with Pepe Larraz, it's a very stark difference stylistically. It's almost like
I agree.
It's just like because now, granted, J.R. Jr. has his own stylistic choice and everything, but compared with Pepe Larraz's, you can definitely tell that there is a lot more. People are going to pay more attention to what Larraz's work is than I think to J.R. Jr. stuff. It's going to be a tone. I'm afraid there's going to be kind of a real weird tonal shift. Like as soon as he gets J.R. Jr. gets on to like issues 6 and 7 and whatever after this, because Larraz's can't do all of these issues like on a regular basis because he just can't. It's just because it's just the amount of detail that given the amount of detail he's put into this one, and granted probably a lot of photo references that he's used too. So, but yeah, I think that is actually, in terms of getting people's attention art wise, I think it's spot on. So
yeah, I think it does do a good job of that. It jumps off the newsstand, or there's not a newsstand, or it makes people want to pick up when they open up the book for a change, as opposed to the opposite of what most books are, where the cover is just, oh, that's gorgeous, and then you look, it's watercolors are in the background, or whatever. It's under the pages. Don't judge a book by its cover. Judge it by what's inside.
Yeah.
Can you at least give me page 1 being rather off?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And I've got more, and that's what you're going to get when I get into my cons. There's a couple things that I've got that's actually kind of tied to that a little bit. So I'm gonna put a pin in that.
Your line of Impossible Man's really good.
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty good. I mean,
yeah.
Anyway, Christina, we haven't heard your prose yet. What do you got?
I like that you had brought this up about Joe Kelly's writing seeming black and white. I like that we're at a street level thing for him, at least for now. And then I'm intrigued what's going on with Kingsley and this other bad guy causing Rhino to have a cardiac arrest, and what's going on with that and stuff. So,
all right, JR, you ready for your cons? Let's go.
Oh, what do you got, sir? I mean, you've kind of heard him throughout. The art is not to my liking. We're just treading on some old tropes. You know, I mean, I guess, Josh, that's why they want Peter to be young forever. They want him to be just like you. They don't want him to be like me, which actually I kind of understand. But, but it is old, and I don't think it's that relevant in today's. I mean, when so many work environments have a flexible, I mean, it's not 9 to 5 everywhere anymore, particularly in some of the tech industry. I just find that old. The new friend coming out of nowhere is another old one, although this one might. It's not. I mean, somebody sometimes can take a trope and do something new with it. So, but just kind of revisiting some old tropes just felt, the art and the. I would say the art, kind of digging into the old tropes, and just kind of the overwhelming feeling that ultimately nothing's going to pay off. But we'll see.
All right, we got the next issue is Josh's issue. He's going to take us on that one. Off the top, Josh, you know how I always talk about covers. I think this pose is very similar to the first issue's cover. I just when I was photoshopping them last night, I'm like, well, that's almost a damn same cover.
Can you show the first cover again?
Not easily.
No, okay. Yeah, no. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a really nice cover, but it's
very
a little
similar.
Similar there. Okay. So, in my notes here, I legit wrote, screw it. I feel like I was having an acid trip reading this. We'll just get through this.
Yes.
Okay. So this is weird. We start with Peter Parker. He's like crashing through a building he's talking about that there's like a sand people dream, and what he's talking about does not match what is happening, but it looks like he's fighting all of his villains. Again, it's the attack of the Sinister 60, and he's fighting Kraven and Vulture and Doc Ock and Scorpion and Carnage. And as he's doing this, we see him and Richie Rich talking when they were kids about
look at their ears. Look at those ears.
Yeah, he kind of looks like a little goblin child. They're talking about something, and he's like, "Oh, this is the effing best." And he's but they keep blurring it out. He's like, "Oh, you keep lowering your voice." Well, Richie Rich convinces Peter Parker to swear, and right when that happens, clang, Peter gets smacked into somewhat reality, where there's these weird, almost like mirrors of what he's seeing versus what's actually happening. And that's when we start to realize, like, maybe something's going on with Peter. He's not just having a dream. He's acting this out live in real life.
What do you think of that panel, Josh? That's beautiful. Double page
spread. I actually did really like this panel.
I like that one a lot.
Yeah, definitely really cool here.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, Peter kind of comes to in the middle of being shown this Rand Enterprises there, showing off all the offer here.
That Parker face.
Yeah. Interesting look there. But anyway, so she's the woman there is showing off like, oh, we're Rand Applied Science Cross Disciplinary Study Group, which is a really long title. We're with courage and humanism and science, yay! And Peter is like so on a different planet. Like he's like, I wasn't at the Rhino's place. Why am I here? And why did I just throw a Kia for no reason? What's going on? And he's like, his hands got wraps on it for some reason. He's like, older Richie Rich is like, oh, I can't believe you still do that. You're picking your hands when you're nervous. You scratch your arms up when you sleep. He's like, I'm sorry, man. I'm so nervous, distracted. There's a lot of life happening. And the woman's like, yeah, we all got a life. Keep it outside. This is work. And
that's a pretty good line.
Yeah. So she girl bosses off, and he all of a sudden teleports into a mushroom place where
he starts tripping on some shrooms, evidently, Peter. My goodness.
He and Richie Rich over here. What's his actual name?
Brian.
Brian
Nairine, I think. Yeah.
You're right. Yeah. So him and Brian are in Mushroom Kingdom. Quite literally, that's what he's talking about. Princess Peach and growing self-repairing cables, and he studies magic mushrooms. And if there's one thing he knows, it's warm, damp cracks. And yes, he knows how that sounds. So he's Peter's like having a panic attack. He's like, how did I get here? What were we just talking in this? Now I'm on shrooms. I thought I was, what's happening? Why do I keep throwing random vehicles? And then he starts daydreaming again about running from the cops when he's in middle school and all this stuff that just does not sound like middle school Peter Parker. But regardless, all of a sudden he's about to jump off a building, and then he hears Green Goblin's. I'm sorry, I don't want to steal this thunder. JR, would you please?
If you would, JR.
Green Goblin laugh. That's perfect.
Come on, JR. What do you think of that panel?
Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay.
So after the
claimed
okay,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I like it better because it's not cluttered. I just part of my problem with the art is sometimes like with Humberto Ramos or God, there was another guy. I can't think of him right now, but it's like when so much is going on and it's too busy, this one, it's clean and simple.
Yep.
Yeah. It's pretty. I like it.
Yeah. So, anywho, after Green Goblin attacks, he's like, I'll kill you, and then goes to punch him, and Norman, not Green Goblin, catches his fist like, yeah, not throwing haymakers like that, you own. Clearly, my concern was justified. Norman, what?
That's
He's
cool.
like, yeah, you're taking the rest of the day off. So we cut to our villains of this story, and someone who's walking around in ketchup is talking to Kingsley here, or at least Yellow Boots, and is
real quick, Josh. I like this from an artistic standpoint. He's talking to the villain, but you have such a low angle shot that you by reading Spider-Man comics, that's the Hobgoblin, and they're hiding the other villain really well. I think that's a clever way artistically that he decided to do that. I just think that's cool.
Yeah, no,
really
I like
cool.
it. It's kind of like watching the scene play out from like what you can see from underneath the bathroom stall.
Or if you're one of the dead guys that was or one of the guys that was just knocked out, that's your view, their feet.
Yeah, they're just watching the feet. So anyways, so this guy comes up from a puddle of ketchup and they begin talking about how he's like, I set a trap, wasn't the assignment. He's like, the murder wasn't implied. I thought that would have been pretty obvious. And he's like, that's not my bad that your poison wasn't poisony enough when I asked you for a bomb. They're bickering back and forth. And he's like, listen, just kill him this time. Don't just mess with his head. And he's like, oh, well, kind of, I don't know, reminded me of, of me in our past and all this stuff. He's like, whatever's fine. Yes, I'll kill him this time. Or don't come back. Boom, big giant explosion.
That was cool.
So then we cut back to Norman and Peter. And Peter still kind of on an acid trip here. He's like, "What? I don't know what the heck happened, but they pretty much put every drug in the pharmacy into me." And Norman's like, "Yeah, biological agents triggering delusions, hallucinations, panic, anger." And Peter's like, "I got to get back out there." And he's like, yeah, sounds like a great idea. Let's get a sequel of this." And plays a clip of what happened in the past where, Spider-Man is randomly throwing Kias for no reason. So Norman's like, maybe we take a day. He's like, okay, fine. 24 hours. Pause back. We do have a really cool panel here where Peter's having a hallucination of Norman's face shifting into the Green Goblin, saying,
how cool is that?
No, I would have used explosives. Sorry, that was my best JR impression.
No, that was your best Norman, not JR. I know it's same thing.
So he's like,
he looks more like Peter here than he does anyway. I mean, he's looking more. Maybe the artist is finally getting him a little bit better. I don't know.
He does, yeah. Surprisingly, when Peter is actually on drugs, he doesn't look like it now. He's like, Alexi's my one lead, but I'll take 24 hours off. And Norman's like, you're a terrible liar. I'll pack you into a go bag of Narcan. He goes, thanks, you're the best. So Peter swings on over to Ravencroft, where he
look at that. Woo! Look at that. That panel's amazing. Literally amazing. Just loving that. Jeez.
Brad gets so distracted every time there's like a whole
squirrel
page.
I just love that page. Oh my gosh, that's so good.
Yeah, I will admit the art is. I am actually enjoying it in this one. So
me too.
Spidey swings to Ravencroft, where he meets his not really main squeeze friends with no benefits person.
Friends with no benefits. That's great.
He's like, aren't you guys like dating? And she's like, this is not the topic of conversation. We're here, even though you were drugged. I should probably put you in jail or tell someone, but regardless, you've earned my trust last time here, and clearly you care about these people. So let's go look at Rhino. And as this is happening, Peter is just completely disassociating and just ignoring her as he's thinking back to earlier in the book where he was on the run from the cops in middle school. He was on the run. Aunt May and Uncle Ben are scolding him. And Aunt May hates the Brian Nuring, the Richie Rich. And Uncle Ben's like, "You're lucky, Officer Yale and I go back. We'd be having this conversation at police station." And Peter, with his middle school teenage angst, says, "I'm lucky you're not my parents." And Peter runs away to his room. "Leave me alone." So
that's rough.
With a legit snap back to reality, Shay's snapping like, "Hello, Spider-Man." And he's like, "Yeah, maybe coming to an asylum with a head full of hallucinogens, not the best idea," shockingly enough. But he hears this loud going on, and even Shay hears it. He's just like, "That's not your drugs. That's actually happening." So Spidey swings in, kicks the door open, which looks awesome in this panel, I gotta say.
Here, sorry. Let me get your kick panel. There you go.
Yeah, an awesome kick panel here. This is awesome. And Peter goes, run away, fast as you can, run. And then we get, I hate this, Itsy Bitsy, where she goes, "Hey, Daddy, long time no me." And this is, okay, technically it's an entity being created from Spider-Man and Deadpool's DNA.
It was injected into basically, she comes from the Spider-Man Deadpool series, and essentially she was basically she was a junkie that was basically that Deadpool's former buddy Weasel genetically engineered by injecting the DNA of both Spider-Man and Deadpool. So she has both Spider-Man's powers and Deadpool's powers.
And again, that series was all written by Joe Kelly.
That was Joe Kelly. Yes, this was a Joe Kelly creation.
10 plus years ago. Yeah.
Yep.
And that series, actually, we thought they were going to deal with Mephisto a little bit because Joe Kelly dropped Mephisto throughout that series a little bit too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Josh, what's your grade on it? That's the end of it, I think, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna give it a B-.
Okay. Mike, grade, and also chat. Let's hear your grades.
I'm also giving this a C+, although it could. I mean, there's times where I kind of was very close to giving it a B-, but still I'm sticking with C+.
C+. JR.
Actually, pretty identical to what Mike just said. Thought about upping the score, but going to leave it at C+ right now.
Christina.
I was going to give it a C, but some things made more sense going over it, so I'm going to bump it up to a C+.
What is up with me? A- out of me.
Wow.
Wow. I mean, what is up? I don't get it. Maybe it's because I've gone at least 10 issues of Amazing Spider-Man not being amazed.
Maybe so, yeah.
But
right.
Yeah.
The artwork and the ground level and the heartstring of the Aunt May and the Uncle Ben thing. I could totally see a little 10-year-old snot saying that to his aunt and uncle. I could totally see it. He is supposed to be the everyman, and the everyman has arguments with their parents.
Right. And not to mention,
we just haven't seen it before like that.
And I know there's probably some people who are kind of complained a little, where I've seen complaints about how Peter Parker's flashbacks being portrayed here, but kind of have to remember that when he was first introduced, he was kind of a sullen loner kid who was an orphan. So it kind of would make it does make sense in context that he would act out like this, especially with the wrong crowd, even though it's the most obvious route you could have gone with this. But it does make sense that in that regard. So I think
real quick before we get to Josh's pros, let's go to chat. We got Tevye with a D-, mostly because the story is boring and not interesting. I'm also done with Shay and now Itsy. Itsy Bitsy. These characters aren't interesting. Also, we all know Peter's friend is the villain. It's obvious. Mr. Comics gives it an A, higher than I did. A bad guy, 50% Deadpool. I'm going to have a hard time liking him. C+. Says Joel, Jeff Cole, and we have Trayvon gives it a B. Gary and the Frozen gives it a C. Ryan gives it a B. And there we go. No grades because I haven't read it. Matt, you're getting spoiled. Okay, Josh, what'd you like, man?
Okay. Few things. One, really do like the art in this one. I I'm with JR. I don't know art at all. I can't draw a straight line with a straight edge, but I know what I like. And there are definitely a lot of splash pages in this one, and it's definitely a bit of a step up from the previous issue that I do like this one a bit more. So I do like that. It's a weird, this whole thing kind of feels like an acid trip reading this entire book, but it does kind of make sense. And it is, it like going on this is Peter. This is like, yes, he's like drugged out of his mind by a villain, but still trying to go and find out if what happened to Rhino, because this isn't Rhino, and he's like this feels like Peter Parker more. So I like that. What else?
Do you like that Norman bit? I like him taunting him. I could get you. You're not going to do anything with that haymaker. I like that line.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do like that. Yeah, I don't love the fact that Peter and Shay are like a will they won't they weird thing that they have going on, but it is kind of funny being Peter being the oblivious idiot that's like, wait, are we not dating? I thought you guys are friends. Like, what's just he has no idea what's going on with his own love life. That is kind of funny, and it makes sense.
That's true. Christina, what'd you like about this issue? What's your pros?
I do agree. I don't know if because of him drawing more, but I thought the art was a lot better in this issue, especially with the Ravencroft one that you were gushing over and stuff. So,
oh yeah, that one panel's amazing. I think his Peter's looking better a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean the scenes with Norman. I mean this looks like the Peter Parker I know. Like the hair is all over the place a little bit, but Norman's ears aren't Vulcan. But yeah. Anything else, Christina?
I like the cover. I
do not.
I
know. I think it was similar to the other one though.
I don't even have the first cover. I have a variant with Hellgate on it because that's what my comic book store had. So I just paid attention to this one and I really liked it too. So.
All right. Let's see. Mike, what'd you like about it, man?
Well, aside from everyone saying that the art is great, I think this one's a little bit tighter plotted than the first issue, because I think the first issue was basically you're mainly just kind of setting up the status quo. This one you're getting right into like the interconnectedness of the plot itself. Like it's basically like you're focusing on Peter, why he's having these like hallucinatory acid trip things. I mean, it's also, I mean, although granted, I do think Joe Kelly may have given the game away that Brian Navering may be the guy who's supplying the thing that's poisoning the Rhino and everything, because what else can cause hallucinations to create a heart attack-like symptoms and
mushrooms, fungus?
Yep.
Yeah. The
think,
Last of Us.
Yes, I mean, I think that. Yeah, I think he kind of gave a game away with Brian basically like, he cultivates. He basically specializes in. He's a bioengineer. It's like, oh, there we go. That's where Kingsley's getting his stuff. That's why he's blowing up the FDA and all that stuff, because trying to cover his tracks and everything. So. I think that's because
Mike and his crystal ball. I mean, seriously, he predicted Venom as Mary Jane. Yep. I mean, he predicted a lot of other stuff.
Right. And I think it also makes sense with the story is that what Kelly's definitely trying to do with this is that he's trying to show that although Peter Parker, when he was younger, he had to take accountability for his actions, this Brian guy never did. So even though he's giving Peter like a break for giving the job, this Brian guy, you can even tell from the art, this guy looks like an asshole. All right.
Yeah.
So you can just, I mean, so you know that this guy is just some dude who basically is trying to get by and everything. Not get by.
He's power with no responsibility.
Yeah, but he's not like he's not like a quote super villain. But he's just, but you definitely can tell that there's a shady side to this guy just by the way he comes across and how he's trying to like figure like, oh, he's, so again, and based on how he's, and also Aunt May's got a pretty good, if Aunt May's got bad mojo about somebody, then that there's somebody bad, this guy's bad news. Right.
Yep.
So,
yep.
So in this way, so I think what Joe, so in terms of the story, you can while it's not really original, you can definitely see the plotting is a lot tighter than it was in the previous issue. So, yeah.
All right, we have the man himself left. JR, what did you like about this one?
Well, it's funny. Everybody's been talking about the art, and I wasn't going to say any more about the art. But I will say that listening to y'all talk and then kind of going back through some things, well, I think the art is a little bit too, I don't know, busy and not as clean as I like. I will agree with you that the style, the choices as far as the focus, the thing where he's swinging into Ravencroft, the thing, where we're looking at the bottom of we're looking at their feet, respectively.
Yeah, villain feet.
But I was about to say Rob Liefeld couldn't do. If Rob Liefeld was drawing, those 2 pages would be blank. But I do.
Each artist has its challenges. This one has problems with ears. Liefeld has problems with feet. Yeah,
I do agree though that he's made, and the one scene that you guys liked, which kind of looked like a fun house.
That was great.
This artist is doing something interesting. So I will give you that. And I will also agree that for some reason his Peter Parker, although, Brad, I can honestly say that our Peters don't get better as we get older, but but you're right. Even in the same issue, once the conversation with Norman started, the Peter Parker looks better. So another pro is I like the way Kingsley is being portrayed, because the way he's handling it, as opposed to like Norman would handle, Kingsley is telling Itsy Bitsy to kill Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Okay. For him, it's business. All right. For Norman, it's personal. And that's, Norman is, but for Kingsley, it's business, and the way he's able to talk dispassionately and clinically in a way that Norman can't always do. So I like how Kingsley is being distinguished as a very different type of villain and Goblin. And honestly, I do like the fact the portrayal of the Richie Rich, as Mike puts it. And I must confess, I thought it was too obvious he was going to be the bad guy, but I got to admit, Mike, I did not make the mushroom connection. You nailed it. I mean, this is almost like the days of Crazy Chris. I was about to say, I don't know.
Right. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong about this.
You're not usually wrong.
It seems like to me, I mean, why introduce this new guy you never heard of that cultivates his mushrooms, and then you have characters who are like Peter's literally hallucinating and having like he's actually on, like he's taking bad mushrooms or something, like he's on a trip. So
what about that cloud in the back of Norman? Is that making him go a little crazy?
Again, it's like, because it's part of the hallucination thing too. Like he's seeing Norman essentially like who he is, probably maybe who he really is deep down. Because I think Kelly's kind of maybe trying to slowly establish that, hey, just because you got rid of Norman Osborn's sins in the last run doesn't mean the Green Goblin really went away, right? Because it's like it's always like still there in him and stuff. So but I think that was I just think that I do think that it's just kind of like, to me, that seems like to be the last correlation. Now, whether or not he's going to be this Brian guy is going to be revealed as the guy who's the supplier to Kingsley, I don't know. In the later on, but I'm kind of been winning my bets on this thing a little bit. So
Do you think he's going to be a villain? He's going to get a mask and a costume. He's going to be the Hellgate guy or whatever. I don't know.
I think this guy is going to be like almost like one of these, almost like a Joey Z kind of thing. If that doesn't make sense.
Or like the Tinkerer, maybe the Tinkerer.
No, more like somebody who's not like necessarily a super villain, but just something more like just kind of like a guy who gets associated with these different villains, because in this case, like he's not like someone who is someone who is just kind of like almost like very low level, kind of like, white collar crime guy, essentially. Then nothing really big for him or something like that. So it's not it's hush without being hush, if that makes sense.
But would we all agree this is so much better content than we've had for the last 10 issues?
Yeah,
by the same freaking writer.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
I want to give you one more pro before I forget it, and then get off the stage. But I always figure this guy, he's coming across as a jerk, and he probably is, but a villain. He probably is going to be kind of behind it. But I'm hoping that his helping Peter get the job when he said, "Besides, I owe you," because it looks like Peter took the rap for him.
Yes.
When they pulled some stunt. And so I really hope, I think it would be a positive if, this guy is doing all these other things, but that his trying to help Peter is genuine.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do agree with. Yeah.
I hope we stick with that, because that gives him a little bit more depth if he does turn out to be, but yeah, that I did like that, because I think then that makes this guy, whatever else he is, he sincerely wants to repay a favor.
One other thing we didn't mention, he's working for Rand Industries. Is this the same Daniel Rand with the Iron Fist? And does Danny Rand not own this company anymore? Where's Danny Rand?
Danny Rand is dead.
Oh, hell. All right.
Yeah.
He's been dead before. He died in the 80s.
Right. But he's been, I don't know how long ago he died, but I think he was, for what. So, but there was a whole thing where the death of Iron Fist kind of thing. So
okay.
I don't,
So did that girl boss that Josh was talking about, is she the main head?
Yes. Apparently she's the main head. It has like some hyphenated name I can't remember now, because I guess it's like, but so, yeah. So, yeah.
Interesting. So, all right. Let's see some chat, and we're going to wrap this thing up. We got another show over on Patreon we got to do in just about 10-15 minutes. Final thoughts. We got Hatchet Man. I haven't seen Hatchet Mouth. Was looking for a show that we did about 4 years ago, where I think this was Mark and I did every Spider-Man ever. I don't think it was 6 hours. It may have felt like 6 hours, but
I remember listening to this one.
Oh,
yeah, I gave him the link. It's right there. Found it on our YouTube channel. Just a simple search for it. Ryan is digging the artist's perspective, and the use of dark design gives the book a very cool feel. I would agree. Mr. Comics says Peter's friend gives off used car salesman meets scumbag lawyer vibes.
Yep.
Ryan also says it's a book I can read and particularly enjoy, but nothing special. But I'm interested in what Kingsley is planning, which is what I think we've all said. I think we are very interested in what and for a generation of people, that was their Goblin. Including me. Green Goblin was dead by the time I was really into Spider-Man. So during the 80s and the 90s, Roderick Kingsley was my Hobgoblin, or Ned Leeds, until they retconned it, So Ryan also thinks Hellgate's not going to be anything special, just something that
guy
caused an issue. Okay, the guy caused an issue for both Spider-Man. Okay. All right. I didn't read that. Okay. All right. Let's do final thoughts. We've got Josh. What do you got for final thoughts?
Cautiously optimistic about this run. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would, just based off of the whole 8 deaths that were actually 5.5. But but
10 issues,
better than that. And like cautiously optimistic, cautiously intrigued to see where this goes.
Yeah, Mike.
This is definitely better than Zeb Wells' run, but that's a very low bar to clear. So I will say, so far, while it's not really, I wouldn't say this is really not that Joe Kelly's really knocking it out of the park. It's competent. We'll put it that way. And I think it's kind of like good for whether or not he'll start doing a lot more, stuff, try to make a little bit. Go into crazy Joe Kelly stuff like he tends to do after a while. We shall see. But so far, I think this is pretty decent. It's not like I said, not great, not terrible. We'll see, but we'll see how it goes.
If this was what Joe Kelly was preparing for, in the however many months the 8 deaths of Spider-Man took.
Right.
Yeah.
It's got to be, I would think. This is what he Anyway, Christina, final thoughts.
I'm cautiously optimistic as well. I'm definitely on board to see where all the stuff's going to go with Kinsley, and I'm glad that you explained what Itsy Bitsy was, because I have no idea who that was.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm not really too keen on, because he's like, oh, well, let me bring back this character that I created that no one else bothered to use. For this.
Well, at the time, and it's been a minute since I've read that, and check it out on Marvel Unlimited. It's up there.
Yeah,
you can read her origin. I didn't mind that story back in the day. That he wrote. We got Tommy Bagley saying Joe Kelly should have done Spider-Man 30 years ago. I was surprised that in the letter pages he's 62 or something like that. I think is what it said. Joe, I thought he was much younger.
Yeah,
but
that's not a bad age.
Nope, he's aged well.
Well, 60-year-olds can write Spider-Man. There's still a chance, JR.
I guess if they can read them, they can write them. So,
Joe Kelly's run on Deadpool was that's the Deadpool that eventually became we all know as Deadpool. The Rob Liefeld stuff and the Louise Simonson stuff and the Fabian Nicieza. It was Joe Kelly that gave him a voice. The humorous voice that we all know Deadpool for nowadays. So Joe Kelly has potential. It's going to see if he writes like this, in my opinion, and Nick Lowe gets out of his way a little bit. Right. Anyway, JR, final thoughts, sir.
2 things. One, for all the people in the past who've, the crawl space has gotten some flack over the years for people perceiving that we're just persistently negative and shitting on the titles because it's not like it was in the Roger Stern days. I think this episode is a perfect example of, hey, just give us good story. Just give us good, interesting stories, The second point is, Brad, go to the last page with Itsy Bitsy, and I guess that's Juggernaut, but the last page with Itsy Bitsy. And then go to
hold on.
Yeah.
It's going to take me a minute. I got something already queued up, ready to go.
Okay.
You're making me dance for it. Okay, hold on.
Dance, monkey Brad, dance.
Here you go, JR.
Okay,
what do you need?
Now go to the page just over, which is the Joe Kelly profile.
The where? To the
right?
Oh, in other words, in other words, where it on. Oh, no. Other way.
Okay, this?
Yeah. Keep going.
One? No.
Keep going.
Where?
No.
What am I looking at?
It was the page before here. This is kind of what it is. There's the Itsy Bitsy page, and then there's the Joe Kelly profile.
Right. That's not in the digital version.
Oh, it's not?
No. Okay. You hold it up.
This joke will have to be it's a shame because the joke would have come off better with it. But anyway, is this Joe Kelly or is this Chi-Town? I mean, are they the same guy? Has Chi-Town been playing us for fools this whole time, and he's really Joe Kelly?
It's not Chi-Town because Mary Jane is not in the damn issue. It's not Chi-Town.
There we go. Okay, that was it. But other than that, it was like.
That's funny. Brothers, different mothers. Yeah. All right. Coming up next on patreon.com. Here we go. You have wanted to see us review this thing. We are going to tackle Venom, the all-new Venom number 5 on our Patreon show. JR, come on. Did you read all new Venom 5 where it's been revealed that Mary Jane is Venom?
I didn't have to. I heard about it and knew that ain't no way I'm getting near that.
I mean, it's not Rick Jones. It's not Robbie. And it's not
Of course, if you watch the Patreon, of course, you wanted to watch the Patreon show a couple months ago, you will know that a certain person actually predicted.
Mike, Mike called it. Mike totally called it.
Yeah.
Bravo, Mike, you called it. So if you want more predictions that are usually right more than wrong, go listen to Patreon. On this one, we're going to tackle. We've got a long run of Miles Morales, number 26 to 32. which is what I'm going to call on the show Miles Team Up, because he teams up with Black Panther. He teams up with Deadpool. He teams up with Hercules and Thor. And we will hear Neil's thoughts on that. Then Tyler is going to tackle, again, the all-new Venom Mary Jane reveal. And it's not like this hasn't been on the internet. We refrained last month from spoiling it, but it's out there now. They even printed a cover of it. And then we're going to catch up on the last 3 issues of Eddie Brock Carnage, which is surprisingly not a bad book. So if you want to hear our thoughts on that, we will be over on patreon.com/crawlspace. The sensational level and above can watch the live stream and chit chat with us just like you are doing right now. So on that note, everybody, thanks for your time. Thanks for watching us. We will be back in just a few.